Hello all, today we are in Unit 3, Day 2, and today is kind of the follow-up to what you will have went over yesterday with the 7 Years' War. I left you off with the British talking about and trying to grapple with how to pay for the debt that they had from the French and Indian War. And that is going to lead the British to do something that would be the first time in colonial history that they would do that. But they are going to put a direct tax on the colonies. To this point, the way that they had made money off the colonies was like through import duties and, of course, through their benefits and trade that they did with the colonies. But this is going to be the first time where the British actually put a direct tax in. So when for you to understand what a direct tax is, if you think about today, you go to buy a new car, you're going to pay taxes on that. For us, again, direct taxes are just a part of life. Every time we buy something, you have a direct tax on that tax that you have to buy, or that you have to pay. And that is going to be something the colonists are dealing with for the first time. So if you've had a job before and you get that first paycheck, I remember when I got my first paycheck, and I know others think have thought this, you get that first paycheck and you're like, man, why is all this money being taken out of my paycheck? Well, taxes. And you're not very happy with that when you get that first job. You're not making very much money, and some of it's being taken for the government. That is exactly how the colonists felt. They were not very happy about these direct taxes. And really, a lot of people had been shielded from paying those taxes because the original taxes, the tariffs and import duties, because the shopkeepers and that kind of stuff were paying those taxes. And so people didn't see the tax, even though they had kind of been paying it before. So with these new acts, you're going to see Parliament kind of all over the place with this. Parliament's going to kind of like flip-flop many times. They're going to put in place taxes, and then the colonies are going to respond, and then they're going to get rid of them. And as you know, with anything in life, if rules are always changing and that kind of thing, then it's going to show a lot of instability. So for example, if I make a rule, don't enforce it, and then suddenly enforce it, it creates a lot of instability and uncertainty and basically a loss of respect. And that's what you're going to see with the colonists. They really do lose respect for the king and Parliament in general. Now, when we're talking about areas that were really upset about this, you're going to see the main two places, Massachusetts and Virginia, are going to be a hotbed of activity against the king and against the British. Patrick Henry, as a junior statesman here in the House of Burgesses, in fact, one of his first days being in the Virginia House of Burgesses, when he finds out about the Stamp Act, he gives a very passionate speech in the Virginia House of Burgesses. And in that speech, he compares King George to King Charles, which that was an insult. He also compares King George and compares him basically to Julius Caesar. And a lot of people in the Virginia House of Burgesses felt like that he had crossed the line into treason with that speech. He would backpedal a little bit to keep from being accused of that. But with this, you're going to see the emergence of Patrick Henry, who of course goes on later to give the famous "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. But Patrick Henry, in this speech that he gives, which is disseminated against across all of the colonies, along with some resolutions that the Virginia House of Burgesses passes, is going to be one of those first united stands that the colonies are going to take against the British and British policy. And you're going to see that ultimately that it does lead the British to backpedal on their policy. You're also going to have the colonists create the Declaration of Rights and Grievances. You're going to be reading that today, and I encourage you, when you're reading that, think and keep in mind the Declaration of Independence, if you've read that before, and you're going to see that a lot of similarities exist between those two items there. So tomorrow we're going to continue talking about British policy and how it changed building up to the Revolutionary War. But during this time period that we're talking about, you're going to see colonies are becoming more and more upset and more bitter at the British. And before this, the British had enjoyed largely a lot of support from the colonies, but as they continue to do things like this, you're going to see their support would erode, and eventually you're going to see it's kind of like the wealthy in colonial society are the first to turn, and then that's going to lead a lot of other people to turning against the British. So, as always, if you need any help, please let me know. Otherwise, have a great day.